ignoring the heat for a second, what have you been up to? What kind of content are you enjoying
Here
lately?
we go.
Here we go.
Here we go.
All right. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Average Joe Football Show. I'm your host, Joe Fair. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of Cristiano Ronaldo's favorite football podcast.
What?
That's
Futbol.
right. Football. I'm joined, obviously, once again by my illustrious producer, Joe Thiessen. How's it going, Joe? Stellar. Nice, dude.
You know that Cristiano, you know this about me.
Yeah.
Did you do this on purpose?
Well, I knew that you're a big football guy.
I do enjoy the sport of
And by big, I mean
football.
more than me.
Yeah. Not really big, honestly. I don't watch it.
Are you watching the Euro World, whatever it's called?
No, but actually I watched a little bit at my in-laws the other day.
Yeah.
Watching with my father-in-law and brother-in-law, and I really enjoy it. If I had a place where I could watch soccer, I would watch soccer probably.
Okay. Well, there you go.
I do enjoy it.
That's more than me. It would have to get... There was a while there where COVID was in its prime at the beginning there. Some would argue that it's always in its prime, but at the beginning there when all the sports were shutting down and soccer was the only thing that was on, really, that was the closest I ever got to watching soccer full time.
You didn't even?
I didn't even.
Wow.
Nope. Yeah. But my team's Germany, so going for Germany. They beat
Really?
Portugal the other day. I saw that.
I did see that. That was sad.
Yeah, it was big. You're a big Portugal guy.
Yeah.
You like Ronaldo?
Portugal. Yeah. He's always been my favorite.
Yeah. I've been trying to I just have so little awareness about soccer.
Okay.
I understand. So where Neymar is from? What country he's from?
Oh.
Okay.
Brazil?
Yeah, it is. Okay, it's Brazil.
I think so.
Neymar.
Right?
Yeah. I found out Messi's from Argentina.
Yes.
So they're not even the Euro Cup. Because that's in South America.
Oh.
So it's like Cristiano Ronaldo is really the big name.
Wow, is that discrimination?
I think they made it pretty clear. It's just the Euro teams. Or is it called UEFA? What is it called? I don't know. This is the football show, not the football show. We are going to talk some American football later on in the show. We're going to talk some news. There's a little bit of stuff going on. Obviously, like I've said numerous times, slow period right now in the NFL offseason.
Very slow right now.
Slow rolling time.
Also, don't let me forget to mention that it's currently 40 degrees Celsius in our house right now. Our AC is broken.
Yeah.
And so we have the fan going in this room, so the audio is going to be a little weird.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be able to hear the fan, but
just know that if the fan wasn't going, we would have a heat stroke.
Yeah,
we would die.
That little breeze that oscillates every few seconds is the only thing keeping us from passing out.
Being alive. Yeah. So you can either hear the fan or not have a podcast at all.
Yeah. Or we could die.
Yeah.
Or you either hear the fan or we die.
Yeah.
So
it's really up to you.
Yeah. You
podcast
choose.
Listener. Yeah. This is a choose your own adventure here.
Yeah. Have you ever watched the Bear Grylls You versus Wild?
No.
Where you get to make the decision of what he does?
No. That sounds awesome.
No, it's not that great.
No. Is it on Netflix?
Yeah, it's on Netflix. I did it one night. It was actually the night that I found out Eddie was pregnant.
That's how you celebrated.
I couldn't sleep. I was up all night, and I actually had an episode of sleep paralysis that day as well. It was a whole weird night.
Goodness.
And I
was that with the adventure? Are you sure you even?
What?
Were you just hallucinating, or is this a real show?
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Look it
right.
up. I think so.
Is Bear Grylls a real guy?
Yeah, for sure he is.
Okay.
But yeah, I watched a little bit of it and I failed, and he died. He got eaten by monkeys or something. I don't know. And it was just so stupid. He's like, should I do this or this? And he's like, if I do this, the chances are that this and this and this. If I do this, I'll get here quicker, and this and this and this. And so,
why don't you tell me, Bear?
Yeah, I was like, you're the guy.
Yeah.
I've learned nothing from your shows.
Yeah.
So
I feel like maybe that show is for people who watch some of his other stuff.
Yeah. So I don't know. So I just choose whatever sounds the coolest to watch. And then it's like, oh, you failed. do you want to go back or do you want to start over from the beginning?
It's like, I want to sleep, Bear, but I can't.
I can't.
You ever see the video of Bear Grylls? It's like a video where he's like on a volcano or something. There's like this crack in the volcano or whatever. He's like on some volcanic rock and he's making a big dramatic thing. He's like, oh, I gotta make this jump over this rock. It's like a really big deal. And it's like, oh man. And he makes this dramatic jump. And then somebody else shows a video from that exact same spot. And they pan the camera over and you could have walked around the crack. And also I think there was like a road just not that far away from where that crack was.
I've seen that.
That's hilarious. TV is just everything scripted. Like,
oh man,
what
about this guy Les Stroud though?
I don't know.
Survivor Man.
I don't know who that is.
I thought he did. He did a little bit different, and he went by himself with his own camera.
Oh really?
But
Oh,
really,
don't get me wrong. Bear Grylls is still an insane human being.
Yeah.
Like, you ever see the video of him like in a helicopter and he's like hanging off the helicopter and he just jumps out and just skydives to where he's gonna be on the island? That is the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
That's like something you would do in Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, in this Bear vs. Wild, he's in a helicopter or plane, I forget. But then they're flying over the water and he jumps out into the water. Like, while it's moving, so
maybe that's the video that I saw.
Oh, maybe
that's crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts.
He's cool, man.
He's a cool guy.
He's a cool guy, but maybe just not as cool as he shows in the show.
Mm-hmm.
But we're gonna talk football. Like I said, talking a little bit of news. We had a couple of offensive line signings. Somebody getting released. The NFL with a big time rule change involving uniforms. You guys know how much I love uniforms. Joe doesn't get how much I love uniforms, but I love them. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about unanswered quarterback situations still in the NFL as well. But yeah, right now we're just trying to survive. It is the hottest time ever right now where we are. Like, in Canada, feels like just a few episodes ago we were talking about how it was cold again.
Yeah.
That was the episode with Rudy. We were talking about how it was cold. It's not cold anymore.
No way.
And it's just incredibly hot. Your air conditioning's broken.
Mm-hmm.
And we are...
Well, I don't know if it's broken, but if we leave it running for too long, it just ices over.
Oh.
Ice today. Right before you came, I just walked into the living room. All of a sudden, out the place where it spits air, it just shot ice. Just shot ice out of it. Like right at my wife, sitting across the room. Went... just shot ice pellets at her.
Hey,
it's like Monster House, man.
Yeah.
Hey, leave her alone.
Leave her alone. That's my wife.
Yeah.
Then you shut it off.
Yeah, I did shut it off. That's why it's so hot.
You ever think that maybe there's a really easy way to fix that? And now you've said it on the podcast, and somebody's gonna be listening to the podcast, being like, "This guy is an idiot."
Well, let me know if you're listening to this podcast, guys. Drop a like, leave a comment in the comment section below. How can I fix my AC
my
unit?
Air conditioning.
It's one of those ones you put in the window.
It's like a window AC unit. How can I fix it?
It ices, if that helps.
And not a good kind of ice either.
Not like that ice on my wrist, I think, right?
On my wrist. Exactly right.
Or like better on my dance or something.
Yeah, something like that. Joe, ignoring the heat for a second, what have you been up to? Like what kind of content are you enjoying
Here
lately?
we go.
Here we go.
Here we go.
All right.
I've been watching Breaking Bad.
Oh. For the first time?
For the first time. Have you watched it? You haven't.
No,
right?
I've never watched it.
Okay. You said you jumped on The Walking Dead rather than when it.
I remember there was a very clear crossroads in my life, and this was long before I was married, still living at home, where there was a point where I probably should have been paying attention to school, but instead I was really deciding whether I should watch Breaking Bad or The Walking Dead, and I decided to go the Walking Dead route.
Mm-hmm.
Never finished it. Maybe it was a bad idea.
Yeah, because it's still going, and Breaking Bad finished, and it's good.
Yeah.
But
tell me about it, Joe.
No, I'm almost on season 3 now, and it's amazing. It is a phenomenal show.
There you go.
And it's starting to get a lot darker.
Okay.
A lot creepier, and yeah, it's like it's interesting. So I'm gonna say a little bit. It'll be a kind of a spoiler.
Okay.
So spoiler warning, I
Spoiler
guess.
alert. Skip ahead if you don't. I mean, yeah, I don't know.
You can do whatever you want. You're your own person.
Yeah, Breaking Bad's also been out for a long time.
Yeah,
so don't get that mad at us.
Yeah. Anyways, the main character, his name is Walter White,
Mm-hmm.
and he finds out that he has lung cancer,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like terminal. He's gonna die,
Yeah.
and so he's like, me and my wife are barely scraping by here. We're living, but we're not living well by any means. So he's like, I am going to cook meth.
Oh, that's usually what the first thing that people think of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he runs into an old student of his who's kind of like a dropout loser guy.
And this is Jesse Pinkman.
Jesse Pinkman,
All right.
who's a drug dealer, and he also cooks meth, but he does it like really crappy in a really crappy way.
It's not that high grade meth.
And Walter White is a science major or a chemistry major, so he teaches chemistry. So he makes like the purest, best meth you could ever think of.
Oh wow!
Like, and so everybody wants it, right? So he starts making meth.
Mm.
And it's like it's unbelievable because in the show you're thinking like he's doing all this for his family, but like he kills a few people. He cooks meth, he's selling meth.
Yeah.
But he's making money for his family. He's like, is he an antagonist or
And for his cancer treatment, or how does that?
Yeah, he's making the money so he can pay for his cancer treatment because his family can't pay for it.
Yeah.
But his family thinks that somebody else is paying for it. Some of their rich friends who own a
Really?
business. Yeah. And so
he does all that and he can't even take the credit for it.
Nope.
That's tough.
Yeah.
Wow.
And yeah, like an episode I just watched, he goes into remission. So he's not, so the cancer, like the tumor has shrunk now. And they have a big party celebrating it. And his wife is like, and none of this could have happened if it weren't for Ed and Irene, I think their names, or something like that, who offered to pay for all of Walt's treatment, and they did. And then he's like, and then the rest of the party, he actually makes a big scene at the end of the party. Pretty pissed off because like he almost dies multiple times. He's putting himself in so much trouble.
Oh man!
And has killed at least one or two people by this point.
Spoiler.
And sorry, yeah, and
That's fine.
And then it's crazy because like he's doing all this for his family. His wife hates him kind of
Really?
at a certain point, just like starts despising him and like resenting him but he's making all this money for his family, or trying to. And
does he have children too?
yeah, he has a 16-year-old son who has cerebral palsy.
Unreal.
And,
what a tough.
Yeah,
That's rough.
And then they had a little bit of an oopsie. And so his wife just had a baby in the episode that I'm on. They just had another baby, had a little daughter. So 16-year-old kid with cerebral palsy, and the wife worked right up until she was in labor, and then now wants to go back to work. It's crazy. And now he has a daughter too.
That's tough.
And in the one episode, he wakes up. Sorry, and this is a big tangent here. You guys can skip all this. I couldn't care less. But he has one episode where or in the last episode, his daughter is crying during the night. So he says to his wife, like, I'll get her or whatever. So he picks her up and he's like bottle feeding her. And then he's like, hey, you want to see something? And then he takes her to the garage where he's hiding his stash of $1.2 million that he just made, like, behind the insulation. So he's like holding her. He's like, look what I did. I did all this for you. And he's showing her like all like stacks of money that he made for her. And then, it's awesome. It's crazy. Joe, you got to watch this show, man. It's unbelievable.
I maybe at some point I will. I'm getting to the point now I have a child, so watching shows like that is going to be tough.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to kind of go out of my way to have them not see that. But this sounds like a good show. I love that we're talking about
awesome
under the radar show, Breaking Bad, one of the most popular shows of all time.
I don't know if you guys heard about it, but Breaking Bad is honestly kind of like a sleeper. It's like super good.
Yeah, sleeper. Like, people don't really talk about Breaking Bad very much,
It's old.
It's like you were just describing the plot, and everybody's listening is probably like, yeah, we know that.
We watched this 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's like We've seen it.
Yeah.
Even if you haven't seen it,
Mm-hmm.
it's about cooking meth,
mm-hmm.
and he's got cancer,
mm-hmm.
and but that's good. That's the content you've been getting into. I've just been watching a lot of playoff basketball.
Nice.
I know you're not into that. really.
No, that's good.
As much as Breaking Bad. It's just been NBA playoffs. If you guys haven't watched it this year, they've been incredible so far. I almost gave up on basketball this year because I hated where it was going. Super teams everywhere. It was basically any player that came available would just go to one of 3 teams. And that was just not fun. And that's one thing that the NBA I think struggles with, where the NFL I think does a much better job kind of spreading the talent around. But now it's in the NBA, it was like the Lakers, Clippers, and Nets got all the players, and it's like every other team, go screw yourself because you're in a small market, and nobody cares. And the NBA fans don't really care either, and that's why I've always said the NBA fan base, the fan base in the NBA is the worst in the world. I hate NBA fans more than any fan base. But all that being said, the NBA playoffs have been a real pleasant surprise so far. The Phoenix Suns are doing really good. They're a young team that was built the right way. Same with the Atlanta Hawks. The Bucks, a small market team, winning. The Clippers still in it, but they're on the brink. They might be eliminated by the time you guys listen to this podcast. They're playing tonight in a game 5, down 3-1. But yeah, that's kind of what I've been doing lately. Joe, unless you have anything else you want to talk about as content-wise or anything-wise, I guess we'll just jump right into the news. Before we get into the news, I forgot in the opening segment, Joe was supposed to read us a writing that he had for the fans.
It's more of like a thank you speech.
For the speech.
Like, I don't know if you've ever seen the Grammys.
Yeah, no. So,
kind of like the Oscars.
Yes. Joe, it's basically, like we discussed last week, a thank you speech for an award that he never won.
No, but it's like the thank you part. Like I didn't win an award. It's like the fans won the award, I think, is I'm just kind of thanking them.
You're thanking them for winning?
It's kind of like I'm more like the announcer rather than the actual...
You think that you think that the presenter of the award thanks the people that won?
Yeah, but it's like I'm the person who accepted the award, but I'm giving it away to somebody else. It's like when Kanye gave his award to Taylor Swift in that one thing.
Did he? That's not... I don't think that's how that went.
It was iconic, Joe.
I know it's iconic because Kanye did the exact opposite.
What?
He tried to take her award away.
And give it to who?
Beyonce.
Unbelievable.
Beyonce had the best music video of all time.
Unbelievable.
Of all time.
Oh, man.
Okay. And I'm going to let you finish, Taylor. But Beyonce had one of the greatest music videos of all time. That's how that went. But yeah,
Wow.
Joe's going to read us a thank you speech at the end of the
No, I can't do it at the end. I got to do it now.
No, you have to wait. You have to wait. We have to do football first.
Yeah, let's do it then.
We're talking about football, and then we're going to get Joe's thank you speech to close out the show. It's going to be we're going to end with a bang. So make sure you guys stick around for Joe's thank you speech. But speaking of things that I'm going to say in a podcast, we got some news to talk about this week. A couple of offensive linemen signing with new teams. We had the Pittsburgh Steelers first up in the news. Made some news by releasing their 6-time Pro Bowl right guard, David DeCastro. He was a first-round pick in 2012, and he's started at least 13 games every season but his rookie season. He made 6 Pro Bowls in a row. He was a 2-time All-Pro. As Joe's neighbor fires up whatever kind of engine he's revving outside. Turns out David DeCastro, who was one of the few holdovers from last year's offensive line, which was not good, turns out he was dealing with some ankle injuries. It looks like it could be serious, potentially career-ending. He's thinking about retirement. So the Pittsburgh Steelers did not want to get rid of David DeCastro by the looks of it. But where is he? He's driving.
I think he's in my living room right now, honestly.
Like he was sounding real close here to the right of me, and then he's like on my left side, and it sounds even closer. That's insane. I don't know if they could even hear that on the podcast. Maybe not, but that was just so loud. What was that even?
I think our neighbor has a friend who's a biker.
Okay. And that was loud. But the Steelers then... moved off of David DeCastro and decided to sign free agent guard Trey Turner, who had recently been released by the Los Angeles Chargers after just one season in Los Angeles. Trey Turner was considered one of the best young offensive guards in the NFL before this last season. I remember when he got traded for Russell Okung, a lot of people thought that it was kind of absurd that the Panthers would even get rid of Trey Turner for a guy like Russell Okung. But Turner struggled with injuries last year, did not play up to par there in Los Angeles. He is a 5-time Pro Bowl offensive guard. I think it's definitely a downgrade from David DeCastro as far as that goes. But it's a tough situation for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But a good forward-thinking move to go out and grab a guy to replace him when you're put in that tough situation. And I still don't like the Steelers' offensive line. I think they have one of the worst probably the worst offensive line in football. And this just kind of emphasizes it. When you lose one of the few guys who was returning, one of the few guys who was kind of a bright spot on that offensive line, there's not much else really on that offensive line that gives you hope if you're a Steelers fan. I mean, they don't have much. You're hoping Trey Turner can turn it around and kind of play at a level to where he was playing at before all the injuries in Los Angeles last year. And speaking about offensive line signings, the Jets signed offensive tackle Morgan Moses, formerly of the Washington football team, to a 1-year, $3.6 million contract. Moses was a third-round pick in 2014, and he started every single game for Washington since 2015. He was a surprising cut by the Washington football team in May. He was a free agent up to now. There was a lot of rumors that he might sign a multi-year deal with the Jets. The Jets always seem to be interested in Morgan Moses. He's a solid signing there for the New York Jets. Certainly sort of along the same lines as Trey Turner, although I would say that Morgan Moses is probably a little bit of a better, more accomplished offensive lineman through his career. PFF had him graded as the 18th best offensive tackle last year, and he's been a solid, not spectacular tackle throughout his career. He will most likely come into New York, be the starter there at right tackle opposite of Mekhi Becton. And New York's quietly built themselves a pretty decent offensive line. There's still a few, spots. Connor McGovern at center. I think, he's, and, I'm not the expert when it comes to offensive linemen, but PFF had him graded as the 23rd best center in the league. So not great. And then you have Greg Van Roten, who is their starting right guard, who's also not highly ranked by PFF, but he's sort of a middle of the pack guy. But Mekhi Becton, and then they traded up in the first round for Elijah Vera Tucker, who a lot of people were very high on, who will probably start at left guard. And then you add in Morgan Moses there at right tackle. They're just trying to do everything they can to help out their young rookie quarterback, and I appreciate that because I don't think they always did the same for their last first round rookie quarterback in Sam Darnold. But they've built a decent offensive line. The receiving core is pretty good. I like Corey Davis. Denzel Mims, I'm really high on Denzel Mims. Jamison Crowder restructured his contract recently, so he'll probably be there this season. And it's just a good core group of young players. They brought in Tevin Coleman at the halfback position, so they're surrounding him with some talent, certainly more than Sam Darnold had at some points. We'll see if it pays off for the New York Jets. And one more little article of news, and the NFL changes a rule that we've discussed on this podcast before. They've decided to overturn the one helmet policy. No longer will teams be stuck having just one helmet. So like you can have multiple different color helmets now. They put this rule in place originally in 2013 as a safety measure. That was back when concussions were all the rage. Everybody was outraged about them, which is fair. I mean, it was killing players' brains, and still is, absolutely. But I don't think changing the helmet is really, the right way to approach solving the concussion problem in the NFL. But the NFL has decided that That's not how you solve the concussion problem. It's because they've rescinded that rule. So now teams will have the ability to wear multiple helmets. And this is awesome for uniforms because now teams can wear different uniforms that we haven't seen in some time. Maybe the Tampa Bay Buccaneers bring back those creamsicle uniforms that everybody's so crazy about. The teams have until July 31st of this year to tell the NFL that they're going to be wearing alternate uniforms with different helmets if they want to wear them in 2022, which is when this rule officially becomes in effect. This year, this one helmet policy still stands, but 2022, teams will be allowed to have multiple helmets. And that actually inspired me to have a quick little top 5 here in the news. And it's my top 5 teams that benefited the most out of having secondary helmet options. That's a bit of a mouthful, but that's my top 5. Coming in at number 5 is the Denver Broncos. Wearing those old throwback John Elway with the light blue helmet. Love the way those things look. And John, I'm going to get your opinion on some of these uniforms. You got to give me a ranking out of 5, what you think about this one. So this is the Denver Broncos. Blue, orange, white face mask. If you guys don't know what it looks like, it's the old John Elway era before he won any Super Bowls uniform. What do you think about that one?
It's nice.
What are you thinking out of 5?
Oh, you want out of 1 to 5?
Yeah.
2.
2?
3.
Really?
3.
What don't you like about it?
It's just, I don't know.
Just,
I just don't like the colors, I guess.
Really? You don't like that?
It's yeah, no, it's nice. I give it a 3.
A 3? Okay. I'm a big fan. I kind of like the orange and the blue together. I think it looks nice. I'm a big light blue fan. Also a big dark blue fan. I just think it's much better than the current Denver Broncos uniforms, which is probably one of the most bland uniforms in the NFL. They have like navy blue. I'm not into the whole dark navy blue thing. And I think lighter blue color, way better than navy blue. And I think this could, maybe bring some excitement back to Denver. Bring back the John Elway era.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, Joe.
Dude, John Elway.
That brings me back to another team trying to bring back another great quarterback era, and this is my number 4 team, and it's the New England Patriots and their Pat Patriot uniforms, the throwback uniforms, the white helmet with the Patriot snapping the ball. Joe, what do you think about these uniforms? Take a closer look. You can scroll to maybe look at the helmet. So basically, it's just got like a guy from the Revolutionary War bending over trying to snap a football. A 2.
A 1 even.
Really?
I don't like it.
You don't like it?
I can maybe if I could appreciate it more.
Like, did you see the helmet? Like,
yeah.
You see that? You don't like that?
Not really.
I think it's cool for some reason. I don't know. I've always thought the Patriots uniforms are kind of cool. Even the ones that they have now. I like the shiny silver helmets. I think they look kind of cool. But the white helmet, white on white, with a white helmet, white face mask, I think that looks really cool. And red, big red guy. I like red.
Big red guy?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the red.
Okay.
Red and blue. If a team has a real nice color red, real nice color blue, I'm all in on that.
Nice.
I'm all in on that.
I like it.
You just could not care less about this, and I appreciate that about you.
Nah, it's just the heat.
Yeah, the heat is really getting. You got to be ready for it with your speech, though, man. I don't know if you're gonna have to take a heat break or you got to bring it. That brings me to my number 3, and it's the team that everybody talks about when it comes to getting new secondary uniforms, new helmets, and it's the creamsicle Tampa Bay Buccaneers uniforms. They're those orange creamsicle looking. If you know what a creamsicle is, right, Joe? Like the orange thing. Basically, this is what the uniforms look like. I don't know what you think about that on a scale from 1 to 5.
I like that. That's a hard 4.
Really?
5 to me. Yeah, I like that.
You like that?
I like the light orange.
Yeah, the light orange looks cool. And I don't know if you saw like the Buccaneer that's on the side. Basically, it's there's a closer up of the helmet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's
that?
a 5.
It's got like a pirate holding a dagger in his mouth while winking.
That's a 5 for me.
This is one that, I almost put it at number 1 on my list, but I feel like it's one of those uniforms. Like, I don't know if you saw the Miami Heat. They had like the Miami Vice uniforms. I don't know if I ever showed you those, but they're like pink and blue.
Oh yeah.
It's like they look cool at the time, but I think after a while it could get a little old.
Okay, I get that.
It's like, okay, like it's a little much. You know,
I get
you
it.
can have these cool colors, but after a while, it's like let's just tone it down a notch. And that's how I kind of feel with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers creamsicle uniforms. I think they look awesome. Coolest color orange for sure. That light creamsicle orange. And the Buccaneers are basically the reason that this rule is being overturned. Jay Glazer, the owner of the Buccaneers, was so big in wanting to have these secondary uniforms back. So they come in at number 3. And just a quick heat update. It is just scorching in here. I mean, we are I kid you not, we are legitimately sweating.
Mm-hmm.
Joe, do you think about taking your shirt off at all, or
Yeah, maybe.
should this be a shirtless pod, or
Could be.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, why don't we jump into my number 2? And that's the Seattle Seahawks, sort of an under the radar, sort of a Breaking Bad type.
Sleeper type.
A sleeper type. The Seattle Seahawks 70s throwback blue and silver. I think they're so much better than what the Seahawks have now. Joe, what do you think about those uniforms?
Yeah, they're pretty nice. I give it a 3.
3. Okay.
2.
I love these uniforms. These are some of my 2. Okay, 2 I'll fight you about. The 3, okay, I understand.
It's just so plain to me.
It's not plain.
What
That's
do
the
they
thing.
look like? What do they look like now, though?
Okay, I'll show you a current one. So that's their current uniforms.
Oh, I like that better.
You like this better than
I
the one
do.
that I just showed you?
Yeah, I do. I like the little green accents in there.
Really?
Yes, it highlights everything.
I don't know. I don't think that these uniforms are ugly by any
You would
means.
ask your wife or my wife, they would probably say the same thing.
No, dude.
The bits of green highlight it, and it looks nicer.
I appreciate that, and I don't even think these uniforms are ugly. But to me, the other uniforms are just, I mean, the blue and the silver helmet, I mean, that is, and like the green, don't you see the green kind of accenting this? Like,
On the arm,
yeah.
a little tiny bit.
And it's not this obnoxious lime green. Like this uniform, like their current uniform seems like it was made
Obnoxious.
at a time when like Nike was trying really hard to make everything look futuristic. And then everybody was super gung-ho about lime green. And it was like, oh, let's do lime green. And I don't know. I'm not into that. I love the 70s era, like Steve Largent era Seahawks uniform. That comes in at number 2. And number 1, and it's the Cincinnati Bengals with the potential uniforms. They've never worn these before, but now with their all-white, the Siberian Tiger uniforms, they can now add an all-white helmet. So it'll be all white.
Five on that.
It's 5 and
That's-
it's 5.
5.
Yeah.
Okay,
You
that
like
is
that?
nice.
Isn't that awesome?
Isn't it? Yeah, that's really nice.
That is the coolest one. I think that should be their full-time uniform.
Absolutely.
There's
What's that? The Bengals?
Yeah, the Bengals. Yeah. The only thing cooler than a tiger is a Siberian tiger.
Yes.
And to me, that the Bengals' new uniforms are head and shoulders above their old, ugly, disgusting uniforms. They got brand new uniforms. I love the way they look. Love the way the white one looks. And then you add in the white helmet. The Siberian tiger look is awesome. Joe agrees with me. That's my top 5. 5, the Denver Broncos. Sorry, Joe, you were going to say something?
Nope.
Okay, fair enough. The Denver Broncos, John Elway era with the D on the side, with the horse in the letter D. The number 4, the Patriots uniforms. Joe, not a fan of that one. Number 3, the creamsicle Tampa Bay Buccaneers uniforms. Number 2, the Seattle Seahawks 70s era uniforms. And number 1, the Siberian Tiger Cincinnati Bengals uniforms. That is just going to look so cool, like in a night game, like it's dark and you have like the bright white. There's no cleaner look to me than an all white, something that's like just a clean white look.
Yeah.
And that's
I agree.
like, and I just strictly mean clothing and stuff. Okay. I'm not talking about race white. I'm just talking about all white clothing or like an all white, car. If white is done right, it doesn't get much better than that. And a few other honorable mentions, guys, uniforms that didn't quite make the list. Teams that will also have chances to change up their uniforms. The Titans, they can bring back the Houston Oilers uniforms. I think those are actually really awesome. Those would probably crack my top 5 if it wasn't for the fact that the Tennessee Titans are going to be the ones wearing the Houston Oilers. I think the Houston Texans should be the ones. I know that the Tennessee Titans technically came from the Houston Oilers, but I don't know. really good uniforms. Just a weird situation. The Eagles with their Kelly green uniforms, those are nice. I'm just not a huge green guy, but I do like that color green better than their current like midnight green or whatever they call it. And then the Cowboys can wear their white helmets. I was saying how much I like the color white. The Falcons can wear their red helmet, which if they didn't have god awful uniforms right now would be better. The Chargers could wear that Dan Fouts era navy blue. I discussed how I didn't like navy blue all that much, but those uniforms are nice. The Colts can wear their blue helmet that we haven't seen really much of at all. Steelers can wear yellow, and the Bills can wear their disgusting red helmet that they should not bring back because the Bills uniforms currently are much better. But that wraps up the news, wraps up my top 5. So why don't we get into some quarterback situations that are still unanswered, and I'm going to attempt to answer them. There is no position in sports more important than the quarterback position. You guys might notice I talk a lot about quarterbacks on this podcast. And, you know, if you get any content NFL related anywhere, they talk a lot about quarterbacks. And that's for good reason. Quarterbacks can make and break a team. We've seen examples where, you know, a team can win games without a solid quarterback. We've seen teams win Super Bowls with replacement level quarterbacks. We saw Nick Foles win a Super Bowl. We saw Trent Dilfer win a Super Bowl. We've seen the Giants win with Jeff Hostetler at quarterback. But for the most part, you go the way of your quarterback. If you don't have a good quarterback, you do everything possible to get a good quarterback. If you do have a good quarterback, you do everything possible to keep that quarterback, because in the NFL, it is now more than ever a quarterback run league, and most of the teams that are in it at the end have fantastic quarterbacks. We saw it this last year. The Final Four was Josh Allen, who recently became a really good quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, who's amazing, Tom Brady, who the greatest quarterback of all time, and Aaron Rodgers, who's also one of the greatest quarterbacks we've ever seen. The quarterback position is so key, and teams like the 4 teams we just mentioned don't have to worry about that position anymore. And not having to worry about that position opens you up to so many opportunities. But unfortunately, not every single team in the NFL has that position figured out. In fact, a lot of teams don't have that position figured out. Whether they have multiple guys that could be that guy, whether they have multiple guys that absolutely can't be that guy, whether they have a guy that is that guy, but he doesn't want to be that guy for them anymore. There's a ton of quarterback situations that are still unanswered in the NFL, and I'm going to try to go through them and predict what I think the answers will be for some of these situations, whether it be a camp battle, whether it be in a quarterback that's unhappy in the situation that he's in, or whatever it takes. We're going to try to get to the bottom of these unanswered quarterback situations, and we're going to try to answer them. The first one we're going to talk about is the New England Patriots in the camp battle between Mac Jones and Cam Newton. Now, for a long time, I was under the impression that this was Cam Newton's job. I really believe that there was almost no chance that Mac Jones would start week 1 for the New England Patriots. I don't know why I was so staunch on that, because I've sort of come around to the idea that Mac Jones could not only start at some point this season, but maybe be the week 1 starter. It's a weird situation for New England because you can look at it a couple of different ways. And one of the ways to look at it is they have 2 quarterbacks that they like, but they weren't totally in love with. And by that I mean they brought Cam Newton back, but it's on a 1-year, $5 million contract. They had him on a $1 million contract last year. That is absolute pennies and dimes compared to what even replacement level quarterbacks, backup quarterbacks are getting from some teams in the NFL. Andy Dalton, I think, is getting $10 million from the Chicago Bears, which is twice as much as Cam Newton. And then when you look at Mac Jones, yes, he fell to the Patriots in the draft, but he also fell to the Patriots in the draft. They didn't trade up for him. They didn't aggressively go and get their guy. They kind of stayed pat and were just like, okay, Mac Jones is here. I guess we're going to take him. And maybe they're geniuses for that. Maybe they knew this is how the board would fall. Maybe they just, they got lucky. They sat in the right spot and they got the right guy, and he's going to be a starter there for decades to come. But it just seems like both these guys, they like, but they don't love. And then as far as rumors coming out of camp, Belichick said that Cam Newton is way ahead of where he was last year. Obviously last year with the shortened off season and because of COVID restrictions and no preseason, none of that. It was very tough for new players to pick up offenses. And Cam Newton admitted to struggling with that. And then he got COVID and things were tough for Cam Newton last year. And he seems to be getting a better grasp, according to Bill Belichick. I don't know how much you can read into that. Cam, however, has struggled throughout the mini camps. And obviously, we haven't even got to the real heart of training camp yet. Right now, all the teams are off. But Cam Newton, a lot of rumors coming out that he's just had struggled with accuracy. And we saw the videos of him throwing ducks in the rain. And then Mac Jones coming out and throwing more accurate passes, although, I mean, his passes were not impressive either. They probably would have been interceptions in a real NFL game. And then Cam Newton injures his hand at one point. I think he had a some sort of break in one of his hands that caused him to lose some time there in the mandatory mini camps. And then there's been glowing reports for Mac Jones and a ton of hype coming out of Patriots camp. And a lot of insiders within the New England Patriots organization saying that they've never seen a quarterback play this well as a rookie, pick up the system this well, and that Mac Jones is impressing people and potentially impressing Bill Belichick and saying that, that he has done more than enough to merit a real competition, which is what Albert Breer from SportsIllustrated.com said. That Mac Jones has done more than enough to compete for that starting job this summer in training camp. So it's an extremely interesting situation for the New England Patriots. Do they go with, a guy who's a little bit more experienced, a guy who's had some incredible highs in the NFL, but is kind of on the tail end of an NFL career that, had really big highs, but he's never been a consistent producer at the quarterback position? Or do you go with the young guy who the ton of hype is around? And if I had to predict, I would say, for some reason, I just feel like we're going to see Mac Jones in week one, and the Patriots will resort back to what won them many Super Bowls with Tom Brady, and that's an immobile quarterback. But playing that point guard offense where he's just making these short passes, finding open receivers, mismatches. They have two phenomenal tight ends that they signed in free agency. So I think Mac Jones wins the starting job in week one. And part of the cynical Dolphin fan in me can just see a world where Mac Jones is starting week one against the Dolphins, against Tua, his former teammate, and Mac Jones completely outplays Tua. And I sit and cry in a corner and have to deal with that for that whole week and probably for the rest of the season. I can just imagine that happening. And then on to another veteran versus rookie competition. And it's the Chicago Bears. They have the established veteran Andy Dalton coming in. He's QB1. That's what they posted on their Twitter before drafting Justin Fields. He's getting paid like a lower tier starting quarterback. But they, all this happened before they went up, traded up in the draft to draft one of my favorite quarterbacks in this draft. I love Justin Fields. And if I had to go back, I'd probably rank him as my number 2 quarterback above Zach Wilson. I really I like his potential. I think he's incredibly accurate at all levels of the field. He's really good at play action. He's incredibly athletic and just a big dude. I think he's a better version of what Cam Newton was at his peak. And that's a lot of praise for a guy who's never played in the NFL before. But Matt Nagy seems to be convinced that Andy Dalton will be the starter for the Chicago Bears team week 1 when they face off against the Los Angeles Rams. And that might not be a horrible idea because it's a tough spot on Sunday Night Football to have your rookie quarterback go in primetime game, first ever career game against one of the best, if not the best defense in football. Aaron Donald coming to wreck his life. Maybe just send out Andy Dalton as a sacrificial lamb. So my prediction for the Bears is Andy Dalton starts week 1, but he doesn't last past week 6. And then we see Justin Fields. And I'm excited to see Justin Fields. So that's my prediction. Andy Dalton starts week 1, maybe week 2, maybe week 3, but he does not get past week 6 before we see the young gun in Justin Fields. And then on to another battle, but this one between two veteran quarterbacks, and it's Jameis Winston versus Taysom Hill for the New Orleans Saints. And this, I've said all along, it's one of the weirdest quarterback situations just because I don't really get it. And I didn't get it last year when they had these two, including Drew Brees, when Drew Brees was in there. But Sean Payton loves to collect quarterbacks, and he's certainly done that there in New Orleans. And the consensus around the league seems to be that Jameis Winston will be the starter for the New Orleans Saints. Jameis Winston, I think there's no doubt in a lot of people's minds, he's just a better pure passer than Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill has the incredible athleticism. They use him all over the field. I mean, as a gunner, on offense and in various different situations, as like a tight end, all that. Taysom Hill, incredibly athletic, but as a pure passer, as a pure quarterback, Jameis Winston is obviously, I think, the better passer. And I've never been high on Jameis Winston because of all the turnovers. To me, that's one of the biggest downsides to any quarterback. I don't care how good you can throw the ball. I don't care how big your arm is. I don't care how talented you are. If you're turning the ball over, giving the ball to the other team over and over, it doesn't work. It's just not going to work. You can throw 30 touchdowns, but if you throw 30 interceptions, that's useless to me because you've given the other team 30 more opportunities to score touchdowns against you. But that being said, Taysom Hill's not innocent when it comes to turning the ball either. Taysom Hill, in his 4 starts last year, he fumbled the ball 6 times. He lost 3 of them. And he struggled with turnovers. Overall, he was 834 yards passing, so that's around 200 yards per game. So not amazing. He had 4 touchdowns and 2 interceptions passing. So as a quarterback, we haven't seen it quite yet from Taysom Hill. He does bring an electric sort of ability that Jameis Winston doesn't bring, but the turnovers are there for him as well. So to me, I think, you stack up the turnovers for both of these guys. I think you got to go with the better quarterback. And I think we'll see them go with the better quarterback. To me, it would be more entertaining to see Taysom Hill, although it will be interesting to see if Sean Payton can bring the best out of Jameis Winston. It's definitely an interesting, litmus test. And I talked about this in my One Big Question for Each NFC Team podcast. If you haven't listened to that, make sure you go back and listen to that. But I talked about we're going to find out if Sean Payton's system is really good or if, a lot of that was having one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, Drew Brees, back there. And I think they're going to miss Drew Brees maybe more than some people think. Some people saw Drew Brees at the end of his career there, and he's got sort of the noodle arm going on, and he's not the same guy. But I think people are going to I've kind of underestimated just how much Drew Brees meant to this team, even in the later years. I mean, having a quarterback that just knows the system, knows who's going to be open, and to hit those slants to Michael Thomas. And I know everybody jokes that Michael Thomas only throws or only catches slants, but that's very effective. And Drew Brees was very effective at getting him those slants. And according to Next Gen Stats, Jameis Winston is very inaccurate on slant passes, which is not ideal when that's the best thing that Michael Thomas does. But if I had to predict what is going to happen, which quarterback starts, I think Jameis Winston will start week 1, but I think we're going to see both these quarterbacks start more than one game. I don't think Jameis Winston is going to play well enough to warrant him being the starter for the entire 17-game season. I think Taysom Hill will get thrown in there just like he did with Drew Brees, but maybe even start some games down the stretch. On to the next unanswered quarterback situation, and I've kind of combined two into one, and it's because they're so closely related with each other, and they have been throughout this offseason. And it's the Denver Broncos quarterback situation and the Green Bay Packers quarterback situation. So which one of these teams is getting Aaron Rodgers is really what it comes down to. Aaron Rodgers hasn't showed up to mandatory minicamps for the Green Bay Packers, has made it quite clear he's not happy with the front office in Green Bay. There's a lot of relationships there that have been tainted, have been tarnished. And then you had the president, Mark Murphy, coming out and saying that he called Aaron Rodgers a complicated fella, which is, not kind of passive aggressive. And then Aaron Rodgers in his TV interview for the match that he's playing with Tom Brady and all the golfers, Phil Mickelson, Bryson DeChambeau. He was wearing his "I'm offended" shirt. A lot of people connected those dots that he was offended by what Mark Murphy had said. Just a lot of drama going on in Green Bay. And the team that Aaron Rodgers, outside of Green Bay, has been most linked to is the Denver Broncos. That was the team that when all this drama started, that was the first team that was really talked about as a trade destination for Aaron Rodgers. And they're a team that has unanswered quarterback questions themselves. They don't have an established quarterback, obviously, if they're looking to bring in Aaron Rodgers. But they have a young quarterback that a lot of Broncos fans are hoping can potentially be that guy if they can't get Aaron Rodgers. And they brought in Teddy Bridgewater from the Carolina Panthers. And he's a solid quarterback. Teddy and Locke is an interesting battle because, to me, if you go into week 1 and you're the Denver Broncos and Teddy Bridgewater is your starting quarterback, to me that's a failure right off the bat. And that's no disrespect to Teddy Bridgewater. I think Teddy Bridgewater is a really good quarterback, and I think he is a capable starter. And I think in the right system, like if he was playing on New Orleans right now, he could probably lead that team to a 3 or 4 seed. He could probably lead that team to a division title potentially. And I like Teddy Bridgewater, but he's never going to be that player that takes you over the top. And I think what a lot of the Broncos brass and what a lot of Broncos fans are hoping is that Drew Lock is not that guy. Drew Lock is not the guy that's going to be good enough, a guy that's going to be a solid quarterback. You want a guy that's going to take you over the top. You want a guy that's going to excel the talent around you, and you're hoping that Drew Lock is going to be that guy. And to me, if Teddy Bridgewater is the starter week 1, you've now conceded the fact that Drew Lock's not going to be that guy. He's not going to be the quarterback that's going to be the franchise guy for Denver. You've conceded that you need to go with the safe option. Drew Lock just isn't cutting it. And so to me, if Teddy Bridgewater is starting, that's a bad look. And for Green Bay, if Jordan Love is starting, that's bad. Jordan Love is, and I don't know. I'm not inside the Packers camp, obviously, but Jordan Love to me doesn't seem ready to play. He's never even played a snap of preseason football, nonetheless a regular season game at quarterback. And they brought in a ton of different quarterbacks. I think they brought in Blake Bortles to come and play quarterback, and just a ton of different quarterbacks to come in and compete for that. Because I think they are a little nervous that Aaron Rodgers might not be there and that Jordan Love might not be ready because the guy just hasn't played. He was a third-string quarterback. He didn't even dress for most games last year, and that's not a good look. So to me, these two situations impact each other so much. And my prediction is I think Aaron Rodgers eventually goes back to Green Bay. I think I just don't see him being traded, and maybe he does, and I hope he does. It would be entertaining for podcast discussion for the NFL world. It'd be crazy and a bombshell of a trade if all of a sudden he ends up in Denver. But to me, I think he'll just kind of stew about this. He'll end up in Green Bay like he did last year and just be kind of angry. I think that this this might be his final year. I think this will be his final year in Green Bay. I think he plays this year out. Maybe he leads them to a Super Bowl, who knows, and maybe he just walks off, whether he retires or he goes somewhere else and seeks revenge on the Packers. I think Aaron Rodgers will be the starter in Green Bay, but this will be his last year. And then in Denver, I think Drew Lock will start week 1, but I think both quarterbacks are going to get playing time because I just don't think Drew Lock is good enough. And who knows, I could be very wrong. I was very wrong about Josh Allen last year, as were a lot of people. But I'm going to say Drew Lock starts week 1, which is the better scenario if you're not getting Aaron Rodgers. And then, we see Teddy Bridgewater at some point. And then a couple quick ones to close it out. We have the Seattle Seahawks. A lot of question there this offseason about Russell Wilson. He seems to now, he's trying to play it off cool as if there was never any trade requests, never any drama. He never demanded a trade. I mean, that's all, whatever. That's all, I don't know. I don't believe any of that. But I think, despite all the rumors, it's quite obvious Russell Wilson's going to play this season in Seattle. And I think it's going to be his last contract. That's been rumored for some time, even before this offseason, that Russell Wilson has signed his final contract with the Seahawks. I think he plays out this year, and he plays out the remainder of his contract there in Seattle. And then they kind of just part ways. They go their separate ways. Not what I would do if I was a Seahawks. I think I'd keep one of the best quarterbacks we've seen over the past decade. But there seems to be some sort of fractured relationship there, even if Russ acts like there isn't. I think Russell Wilson will play at a high level, but he has signed his final contract with the Seattle Seahawks. And then the final situation that I can't really dive too deep into because we just don't know, and it's the Deshaun Watson, Houston Texans situation. As far as the legal battle goes, we just don't know what's going on there because there's a lot of rumors coming out that Deshaun Watson might settle these cases and they might just make them go away and he's going to be available and some team's going to trade for him. But Tony Busby, the lawyer that represents the women that are accusing Deshaun Watson, has said that there's no settlement coming in the near future. So we just don't know with the Houston Texans and Deshaun Watson. So Deshaun Watson, I won't even begin to speculate where he goes. I think he's played his last downs in Houston. I'll say that. But I don't know where he's going to play, if he's even going to play this year, if he's going to end up on the commissioner exempt list, or what's going to happen. In my prediction for who's starting in Houston, I think Tyrod Taylor is going to start at quarterback. And who knows with Deshaun Watson. Maybe he gets put on the commissioner's exempt list. But that wraps up me answering all the quarterback conundrums. Oh, I should have used that beforehand. That's a good quarterback conundrum.
Wow.
That would have been so much better. You should have used that from the beginning. That wraps up me predicting all the quarterback conundrums in the NFL. And before we wrap up, Joe, you promised the listeners you were going to give them a thank you. Are you prepared with your speech? You have your speech?
Yeah.
Even in the heat? Are you going to be able to bring it?
I got the speech.
Okay. All right. He just showed me a blank sticky note. Okay. I don't know. You want me to intro you at all, or you just want me to just give you the floor, or how do you want to do this?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I'll just kind of jump into it.
Okay.
Hey guys, I just want to say thanks for your support. Thanks for listening every week. I want to thank Academy,
obviously.
And so yeah, thanks for everything, guys. We really appreciate it.
Okay.
Take it away, Joe.
All right. That was a lot to do about nothing, if you know what I'm saying. Joe, thanks for bringing it on this episode.
Yep.
I had a good time. I hope you guys had a good time. I thought this was a decent podcast, despite the elements. Us cooking.
The elements were against us today.
The elements were absolutely against us. We are sweaty, sticky, hot boys. But we made it through another episode. If you guys enjoyed, cheers. Make sure you guys, let's do a little clink here. Very good. Make sure you guys rate, subscribe, do something good for us. Whatever the podcast app that you're on, do the good thing that would be nice for us. Subscribe if you're on Apple Podcasts. that automatically downloads this podcast, which is so convenient. Imagine waking up
And you don't even need to do anything about it.
nothing. You don't even need to listen if you don't want to.
Yeah.
We would prefer
because
if you did.
You can delete the episode afterwards.
Yeah.
The download still counts. You just don't. It doesn't take up your space.
That's still money in our pocket.
Yeah.
So make sure you subscribe. It takes all the pain away. You wake up, boom, new episode Wednesday morning. Average Joe Football Show. There it is. Do that. Give us a 5-star rating, 5-star review. That would help a ton. I mean, and if you have friends that like football, that like banter, that like us, like guys named Joe, like Breaking Bad, honestly, like Bear Grylls, any of these things, share it with them. Don't be selfish. If you have something really good, you should share it with the people that you love.
Yeah. It's called the butterfly effect, I think.
I don't think so, but yeah, something along that lines. Just don't keep us a secret, man. We want to be out there. We want to just touch as many lives as possible. So make sure you guys share us with all your friends and all your family. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. We'll catch you guys on the next one.